And we've started recording. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Hey everyone, welcome back to another live community classroom with Michaels. Today we have Mary Beth from Hooked for Life with us ready for another exciting class. Today we're learning how to knit lace with a pastoral lace knit shawl. My name is Lillian from Yarnspirations and I'll be helping with any questions you might have during today's class. Feel free to ask questions in the chat here and we're sure that Mary Beth answers them. Over to you, Mary Beth.
Well, hey guys, so this is an intermediate class and there's a lot of lace knitting going on here. So I am, as I often am, making a smaller than usual sample. But the first thing I want to go over is how to get the shawl started. And then we're going to cut right to the lace section, which is far more interesting. So we can switch over to the tabletop camera now. Kelly, please. And let's jump right in. So the first thing you will have done is cast on 7 stitches. Now, Yarnspirations always recommends a knitted or a knitted on cast on. I just slapped on a yarn long tail just in the interest of getting us going. So row 1 of the instructions, which is a right side row, we're going to knit 3, 1, 2, 3, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over. So just gentle reminder, yarn over, you're bringing the yarn between the needles from back to front and over the right hand needle. So there's my yarn over, knit 1, because you're creating a stitch. Yarn over, bring that yarn between the needles and over the right hand needle. Knit 3, 1, 2, 3. And that tells us we're going to have 9 stitches. Let's see if I can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's see if we can get a little more light on the subject here. There, I think that's a little better. So now we're going to do a wrong side row, and this is the wrong side row we're going to repeat for most of the shawl, to be honest. So that's knit 3, 1, 2, 3. Now it says purl to last 3 stitches. And again, especially at this early spot, if you see a yarn over, you're going to purl it. And then knit 3. So we're increasing on right side rows, but we are not increasing on wrong side rows. So that was our first wrong side row. For the third row, we're going to knit 3, 1, 2, 3. Yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, place marker before next stitch. Now I am using a locking stitch marker because, as many of you know, I crochet and knit in equal measure, but you can use a ring marker. It does not have to be a locking one. So there's my yarn over. So I'm placing that marker after the yarn over before the central knit stitch. Now, as we keep going, you will be able to see that central stitch stands up pretty well, and you'll be able to notice it without having the marker there. But in the meantime, we're going to put it there. So we place that marker before the next stitch. Then we did knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 3. 1, 2, 3. And that should give us 13 stitches. Let's take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. For the fourth row is the same as the second row. Knit 3, purl to last 3 stitches, knit 3. So that's 1, 2, 3. Just keep purling across. I want that marker to be, I think I'm going to have to move that marker. We'll do it on the right side row. Keep purling until 3 stitches remain. Remember, we're not increasing on the wrong side. So we just bring that yarn to the back. Knit 3, 1, 2, 3. So here we are. I'm going to move that marker because I know that I slipped it. It's not hard to leave the marker where it belongs, but when you're me and you're knitting at an awkward angle because you're trying to make it pretty on camera, then sometimes little things like that happen. But that's where the marker wants to be, is right before that central stitch. 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, and there's my 7th stitch. All right, so we're going to right now on camera go over the 5th and the 6th row, and then you're going to keep repeating the 5th and the 6th row. So let's take a special look at this. We're going to knit 3, 1, 2, 3, yarn over, knit to the marker. Remember, the marker is going to be in front of the central stitch. So that marker is going to be right in front of the center stitch. It doesn't matter how many stitches you have on here. We're marking that center stitch. So we're going to yarn over, slip that marker. See if I can get it to stay in the right place now. Knit that central stitch, yarn over. Now knit to last 3 stitches, which in this case, we've only got 3 to go until we get to the last 3 stitches. Yarn over, knit 3. 1, 2, 3. So what's going to happen is you are increasing 4 stitches on every right side row. And where they're going to be is after and before. These 3 stitches are garter, right? The 3 here and the 3 here are garter. Then there'll be a yarn over after that garter stitch border and before that garter stitch border. And then you're going to have yarn over, knit 1 yarn over in the center. So those 4 yarn overs that you are placing on every right side row means you're going to increase 4 stitches on every row. So we're going to do that one more time. Let me do this wrong side row. So that's knit 1, 2, 3, purl across, whoops, purl across until 3 stitches remain, slipping that marker when you come to it. Sliding my marker from one side to the other. And again, you can use a ring marker there if you want to. It doesn't have to be locking. I'm going to keep purling. Until there's 3 stitches left. Bring that yarn to the back so you can knit and knit those 3. That's going to make that nice garter stitch edge across the top edge of the shawl. So I'm going to do rows 5 and 6, the 5th and 6th row one more time just to make sure we're all on the same page. So this is what it looks like after the 6th row has been completed. So we go back and repeat the 5th row again. It's knit 3, 2, 3, yarn over, which is our first increase, knit to the marker. There's my marker right before my central stitch, yarn over, slip the marker. So yarn over, slip the marker, knit 1, yarn over, knit across until 3 stitches remain. Yarn over, knit 3. So each right side row is going to increase by 4 stitches. 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. And then our wrong side row is the same wrong side row that we've been doing, which is knit 3, purl across until 3 stitches remain, knit 3. Now I have gone ahead earlier today and knit a significantly larger sample so we can jump right on to the lace section. So let me put my marker where it belongs, which is right before that central stitch. So you can see what I did here is I just kept repeating the 5th row and the 6th row, the 5th row, then the 6th row, etc. So like I said, you've got your 1 increase is right after that garter stitch border. And you see how that's all garter stitch, which is knit on both sides, and it gives you just a lovely edging. And then our next 2 increases are on either side of the central stitch. And then our last increase is before those last 3 stitches, which is the other border. So if you look at this, when you're done knitting, this is the top edge. This is where the top edge is going to be with that nice garter stitch. And you're essentially knitting a triangle. If I move my cable down, you can see this is how this is how it's going to look when it's worn. But of course, when we're knitting, it's just straight back and forth on the needles. So I want to jump right into the lace pattern, but Lillian, do we have any questions that I can answer about setting up the shawl before we go forward?
I think we're all following along so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can confuse you all now. All right. And again, if you're just joining us, and I did mention this earlier, this is a far smaller swatch than you will have when you're knitting the actual shawl. You're going to keep repeating the 5th and the 6th rows until you have 125 stitches. But if I did that, we'd be here all night while I knit 2 rows, and we don't want to do that. So I have a much smaller swatch just so we can get an idea about how the technique works. Now, as is often the case here at Yarn Inspirations, one of the things I love about Yarn Inspirations patterns is we have the information for you written out in text, but we also have it in chart form. So let's talk about the chart for a minute because it's new for a lot of people. I'm going to read from the text when I'm teaching because it's easier for me to read the text than to try and read the chart and teach at the same time. But the couple of things, if you prefer to use the chart. Part number 1, you are reading the right side rows from right to left. And the cue for you to do that is that the odd numbered rows are written over here, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19. And that's telling you that you are reading the chart in this direction. Now, for the wrong side rows, honestly, I don't know that I would mess with the chart. Basically, you're going to knit the knits and purl the purls. But if you wanted to follow along with the chart on the wrong side rows, you would read in this direction from left to right. And the reason is because you've turned your work. So right side rows, this direction. Wrong side rows, this direction. Now, a lot of people will say, holy heck, why are all these big white spaces in here? And the reason is because we are increasing as we are knitting. And we are increasing because we want the lace border to lay flat. So a stitch up here that we can see on the chart, well, it didn't exist down here because we hadn't created those increases yet. So don't panic about the white space. Just read across or read across and don't worry about it. When you get to a white space, just jump to the next piece of print that you see, because that's going to give you the correct number of stitches. We have a key down here to let you know what each one of those little symbols means. So if you come across a symbol you're unfamiliar with, you can look right here at the key and check it out. But charts are a lot easier than people realize. Like if you look at knit two together, if you look at the symbol for knit two together, it's a line going this way. Well, a knit two together in knitting is a right leaning decrease. So honestly, you're making a stitch that looks like what's going on in the box. If you look here at the SSK, it's left leaning. So that reminds you that you're making a left leaning decrease. So I know that charts can be off-putting to a lot of people, but honestly, it's not that hard. And I particularly, when you're knitting an intermediate or an advanced pattern, like a lace pattern, in the long run, it's so much easier to read from the chart than from the text. And you can get confused about how many stitches you're doing. The other thing I want to point out, we have that 10 stitch repeat marked out. Obviously, if we have started with 125 stitches and we have increasing to do, we're not going to chart 125 stitches. You'd need 20 pages to print the pattern out. So you're going to read to here, you're going to knit those 10 stitches, and you're going to go back to the beginning of that repeat as many times as you have to until you get to the part where these are the stitches remaining before your central knit stitch, and then you go on. Same thing, you're going to knit here, you're going to knit this, you're going to knit here, and then you're going to knit that 10 stitch repeat as many times as you need to until you get to the stitches at the end. The last thing I'm going to say about the chart, a lot of people were taught when they knit a row to cover it up with a piece of paper so they're only looking at the row that they're knitting. But I have found it much easier if I cover the rows I have yet to knit as opposed to the rows I have already knit. And the reason why is I can see the key, I can see my 10 stitch repeat note, but also I can see the stitches that I'm about to knit or purl in relation to the stitches beneath them. And you can see how the yarn overs stack up. You can see how the SSKs and the Y2 and the K2 togs knit stack up. If you're knitting along and you're watching TV or you're distracted by somebody you're talking to or the dog barks or what have you, it's really good to have a visual clue that your stitches are stacking up the way they need to. And you can see in this, and you can see in the photo that comes with the pattern, you have this sort of diamond shape happening. So if you're knitting along and it doesn't look diamond-like to you, it's easy to look at the stitches that you're knitting in relationship to the ones that are already there that you're secure about, and then see if you have to alter anything. I know I said that was the last thing, but I lied. The other thing I do want to point out is this is a really great pattern to learn how to use lifelines. If you've never used a lifeline before, if you have a row of lace knitting that you are 100% certain is correct. Oh, I don't have my yarn needle with me. I just have a regular needle, but pretend this is a tapestry needle. You can thread a contrasting color of yarn onto your tapestry or your yarn needle, slide it through the stitches. Don't twist them or anything, just slide it right through the stitches and out the other end and leave that strand of yarn there. And you can add a lifeline every, 10 or 12 rows, whatever makes you secure. But if you've passed the lifeline and you've made a terrible mistake and you need to rip out, ripping out lace can be a little anxiety producing. But if you have your lifeline there, your work cannot unravel past the lifeline. So it saves the work that you know is already okay. So if I was to put a lifeline here and start with my lace pattern, if 2 or 3 rows up, I've made a terrible mistake, I can rip back right to the lifeline and the work will not unravel past the lifeline. So it now says proceed in lace pattern or see chart on page 3. So we can do one or the other. And again, I'm reading from the text because when I'm on camera, that is the easiest thing for me to do. The text and the chart are the same, so you can do whichever one you want. So we're going to go knit 3. Yarn over. Remember, bringing that yarn between and over the right hand needle because that's where we're going to add a stitch. Knit 2 together, which is simply knitting 2 stitches as if they are one. Yarn over. Oh, pardon me, knit 2, yarn over. So it's knit 3, yarn over, knit 2 together, knit 2, 1, 2, yarn over. Now there is an asterisk, so we know that this is where the repeat begins, and the asterisk in the text pattern should be in the same place that the red line is in the chart. So we're going to knit 1, yarn over, knit 2, 1, 2, SSK, which stands for slip, slip, knit, which is a left leaning decrease. So we're going to slip the first stitch knitwise. We're going to slip the second stitch knitwise. We're going to put them back onto the left hand needle. And then we're going to knit 2 together through the back loop. I will do that again, so do not panic. That is, sometimes that's a new decrease for people. So we will come to it again, so don't worry. Purl 1. Now to purl 1, I have to bring that yarn to the front, but I don't want to put it over the needle because I'm not creating a stitch here. I'm just getting my yarn to be where I need it to be. So we're not making a yarn over at that point. We're just bringing that yarn to the front. After my purl 1, I have to get that yarn back to the back. We have knit 2 together. Knit 2, knit 2, yarn over. Now I am making a new stitch on that right hand needle, and then there's another asterisk. So we're going back to the asterisk because it says repeat from asterisk to asterisk until 5 stitches before the marker. So we're going back to the top of that asterisk. So let's do it again. Knit 1, yarn over, knit 2, slip, slip, knit, or SSK, S, S, K, and then knit 2 together through the back loop. Purl 1, bringing that yarn to the front without making a yarn over. Knit 2 together. Knit 2. Yarn over. So it told you to repeat that until 5 stitches exist before the marker. And you're going to have far more repeats than I do. I really just made this small sample so we could get through it on camera. Yours is going to be much bigger because you will have done the opening section until you had 125 stitches, and I have half that. I've only got 65 stitches on mine. So we're 5 stitches before the marker. It says knit 1, yarn over, knit 2, 1, 2, SSK, so slip, slip, put them back on the left hand needle, knit 2 together through the back loop. So there's my SSK. Yarn over. SM, that's new to us in this pattern, and that is slip marker. So the SM abbreviation is slip marker. There's my marker right here. I'm going to move it over. Knit 1. Remember, I'm trying to keep that marker right before that central stitch. yarn over, knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, because we're making another stitch. And now we're going back to the asterisk, because it says repeat from asterisk to asterisk until last 8 stitches. So let's go back to that asterisk. Knit 1, yarn over, knit 2. Now I'm going to teach you a little trick for SSK that I use all the time. So I'm going to go slip, slip, and when I put them on my left-hand needle, when I put them back on my left-hand needle, I'm going to leave my right-hand needle in. Now look, I want to knit 2 together through the back loop, but my needle's already there. Instead of pulling the needle out and then having to grab those 2 stitches, I can just leave the needle there and it's already there. Purl 1, I'll do that one more time, don't worry. Get that yarn back to the back without making a yarn over. Knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over. Now we're back. We're going to repeat the instructions between the asterisks one more time. One more time in my instance, several more times in yours. Knit 1, yarn over, knit 2, SSK, slip, slip, put them back on the left-hand needle, but this time what I did is I left my right-hand needle in there. It just makes it go a little faster and it lays exactly the same way. Purl 1, knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over. So again, in your case, you'll go back and knit more repeats. I hopefully have 8 left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Look at that. So you're going to have done that repeat as many times as you need to until 8 stitches remain. So here's my last 8 stitches. I'm going to knit 1, yarn over, knit 2, 1, 2, SSK, slip, slip, knit 2 together through the back loop, yarn over, knit 3, 1, 2, 3. So that was a lot of talking, but now our first row of lace is set up and it will be easier to see what we're doing going forward. And again, we're still increasing as we go. So we have added our 4 stitches. If you look at the text pattern, you had 125 stitches going into this row, but we've added 4 and now you have 129. So we're still adding 4 stitches. We're creating the lace and we're doing those increases. And again, it's to make sure that your triangle shawl builds out and down at the same time and lays flat and beautiful. So for the wrong side row, for row 2 and alternate rows, it says knit 3, knit all knit stitches and purl all purl stitches and yarn overs as they appear to the last 3 stitches. Again, if you need a little help with that, it might be a good idea to look at the chart. But as we say this in lace knitting a lot: knit the knits, purl the purls. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to knit the knits and purl the purls. The only real difference here is they did warn us that you're going to purl all the yarn overs. So if you see a yarn over and you're not sure whether to knit it or purl it, you're going to purl it. So there's my 3 garter stitches. I knew I was going to knit those. That's a yarn over, so I'm going to purl. Whoops, there we go. And let's see. I'm looking to see where the knits are. There's a knit. I know I have another one over here. Once again, once you have done a few of these repeats, seeing which are the knits and which are the purls are far easier to see. And I do want to warn you, I may make a mistake just because, again, I have the camera and the pattern and I'm trying to knit all at the same time. So I hope I don't mess up, but I might. And don't take that personally. It's just there's a lot going on here. Lillian, do we have, I looks like the chat is whipping by here. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, we just have one question. Can we make this without a stitch marker?
Can you make it without a stitch marker? I'm going to be 100% honest and say sure, if you're an experienced knitter. Because as you can see, once your pattern is established, it's pretty easy to see where that stitch marker is going to be. However, if you do not use a stitch marker, sometimes until you get the pattern established, sometimes it's hard because the instructions say, you know, do this until there's 5 stitches before the marker. If you don't have a firm visual clue in your head where that marker is, then knowing when you are 5 stitches before it could be a little confusing. But as an intermediate or advanced knitter, yeah, you could absolutely do it without the marker. But don't tell your inspirations I said that because they have the marker in the pattern.
There's also a question here from Ali asking, is the Grace yarn stretchy?
No, Grace yarn is not stretchy at all because it is 100% cotton. It is a beautiful yarn to use. I use it for a lot of projects. I like it for both knit and crochet. Has a little bit of sheen to it, which I like. And before I keep going on how much I love Patons Grace, see that one I'm going to knit. I'm not going to purl that one because it reads like a knit stitch. Just pointing that out when I pass it. But because it is 100% cotton, and I believe Grace is mercerized, Lillian, you might know better than I, but I think it's mercerized cotton. It has no elasticity at all. Cotton doesn't give. So this, once you block this out, it should hold its shape pretty well, but it's not going to give at all.
I'm going to second your use. It is a mercerized cotton.
It is mercerized.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was. Mercerized means, I don't know what it means technically, but it does mean that it has a nice little sheen to it, which I love this yarn. I use it all the time. But that's a me thing. I know some people, particularly beginners, don't like Grace because it's not very forgiving. But again, this is not a beginner pattern. It's an intermediate pattern. So I feel like if you can handle the lace on this pattern, you can handle the Grace yarn. And I love it. I like that it's nice and thin, but it's not lace weight because sometimes you want to knit something light for the spring and summer, but you don't want it to take your entire natural life, which it might if you were knitting on a lace weight.
So true.
I find it to be a great spring summer yarn. I use it a lot. Go ahead, Lillian.
I was just going to say that is very true. Lace weight yarns take their time. For those that are interested, mercerization is a textile finishing treatment for cellulosic fabric and yarn, mainly cotton and flax, which improves dye uptake and tear strength, reduces fabric shrinkage, and imparts a silk-like luster.
Yep, it's the luster. That's the only thing I know about mercerization, is that it adds luster. If you sew, which I also do, you'll find that mercerized cotton thread has just a little bit of a sheen to it. But it's one of the things I like about something like Grace as opposed to like a Lily Sugar and Cream, which is great. I mean, it's great yarn, but it's more utilitarian. It doesn't have that little glow that Grace does. And of course, it's much thicker. Lillian, I'm still purling back until I die. Do you have any more questions?
We have a question here from Meryl asking, does this pattern also work with linen and cotton blend?
I don't see why it wouldn't. Yeah, I think that would be fine because again, a linen cotton blend is also not going to have a ton of elasticity. As long as it was, you know, the same weight, as long as it was a good weight. So remember, when you come to a purl, you're going to purl the pearls, or a yarn over, you're going to purl the pearls. And then there's my last 3 knit stitches. And that's the wrong side row for the bulk of this piece. All right, I'm going to pull a little yarn up because I have two little shawls going here, and my yarn's getting tangled. But again, you can see my lace pattern starting to develop. So let me untangle this mess from my other Patons. Actually, I don't ever get a lot of yarn bark with this, but I have two balls going. I have the one that I cast on with at the beginning, and this one that I was working on earlier today. So I just want to make sure that they are not tangled up with each other. Lillian, anything else?
We just have one question asking if we'll be making plushies. So I might just drop the link into upcoming classes into the chat.
I have to say, mostly moving on, I'm teaching sewing. But for you guys that have taken some of my other classes, I teach everything here I teach knitting, I teach sewing, I teach embroidery, I teach crochet. So let the nice people at Yarnspirations know what you would like me to teach, and they'll get me on the schedule. But I like to keep things, I know I'm not supposed to answer the chat, but I just saw somebody ask for embroidery. We do have a hand embroidery class already scheduled with me in August, although I don't remember the date. So keep going to the Michaels website and checking it out. But I know for a fact that I'm doing an embroidery class in August, which I'm super excited about. So definitely come back and see me then. All right. And again, before we get too far along, it's already 20 minutes until class ends. Clearly, I am not going to get through this entire lace pattern, but I'm just gonna kind of keep going with what we're doing. And maybe at the end, I might just show, the other thing I want to show is a make one increase and a P2SSO, but I'm gonna have to just sort of do it on a random piece of knitting because I'm not going to get to the border tonight. There's just not enough time. But let's knit through the third row together. So we're going to knit 3, yarn over. Now, this is an interesting yarn over because my next stitch is a purl 1. And before, all my yarn overs had a knit after, so my yarn was over there. My yarn was in the back to knit the stitch, but I'm going to purl. So you're bringing that yarn through and over and all the way around, because you need that yarn in the front so you can make that purl stitch. Knit 2 together. So I'm just bringing that yarn to the back. Knit 2 together. Knit 1. Yarn over. Knit 3. 1, 2, 3. Now here's my asterisk. Yarn over. Knit 1. SSK. S, S. Knit 2 together through the back loop. Purl 1, bringing that yarn to the front. Knit 2 together, so I have to take that yarn back to the back. Here's my knit 2 together. Knit 1, yarn over, knit 3. 1, 2, 3. Well, it looks like I have one more repeat on my swatch. Again, yours will be so much bigger. Yarn over, knit 1. SSK, slip, slip, knit 2 together through the back loop. Purl 1, bring that yarn forward so you can purl. Knit 2 together. Knit 1. Yarn over, knit 3. 1, 2, 3. So remember, this is the section that's in the red lines in your chart or between the asterisks in your text pattern. So it says repeat between the asterisks until 4 stitches before marker. 1, 2, 3, 4, which is good. Now, for the nice person who asked if they could do it without a stitch marker, this is always this central see that central guy between the yarn overs? That's your marked stitch. So if you did not want to use the stitch marker, you would go until you had 4 before your central knit stitch. I don't want to confuse people who didn't ask that question, but somebody did. So you will have far more repeats than I do. I did my 2 repeats, which is all I prepped for this class. And so I did my repeats until I have 4 stitches before the marker. Now we're going to yarn over, knit 1, slip, slip, knit, purl 1, bring that yarn forward, yarn over, slip marker. Also, if you don't use a marker, you can cross out all the SMs because that's what that means, is slip marker. Knit 1, yarn over, purl 1. So I have to bring that yarn over all the way to the front. Purl 1, knit 2 together. So I had to put that yarn back to the back. Knit 1, yarn over, knit 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going back to the first asterisk because we're going to repeat between the asterisks until 7 stitches remain. So we're back to that asterisk, yarn over, knit 1, SSK, slip, slip, knit, purl 1, knit 2 together, knit 1, yarn over, knit 3. 1, 2, 3. Going to repeat that asterisk again, more times for you, just once more for me. Yarn over. Lost my place. Knit 1. SSK, slip, slip, knit through the back loop. Purl 1. Knit 2 together. Whoops. Let's try that again. Knit 2 together. Knit 1. Yarn over. Knit 3. So it said to do that until last 7 stitches. Let's see if I have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Look at that. I'm very impressed that I can count and teach and make video all at the same time. I have to be impressed with myself. No one else is. Yarn over, knit 1, SSK, slip, slip, knit 2 together through the back loop, purl 1. And then we get to the end, we know what we're doing. It's yarn over, knit 3, because that's how all of these rows end. All of these right side rows. 1, 2, 3. Now let's take a look at this. All right, you see we're starting to build up. This is where our diamonds are going to be. So I'm going to start this wrong side row. I'm actually going to finish this wrong side row, and then I'm just going to talk about some other stitches that you're going to come across in the border. But the one thing I do want to point out is now that we have more rows of the pattern established, when the wrong side essentially says knit the knits and purl the purls and purl the yarn overs. Remember when I did the other wrong side row, I was sort of struggling to see where the knit stitches were going to be. But now that I have more stitches and the pattern is established, you can see right where my thumb is. We're going to purl, 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 purl. That's going to be a knit stitch. You know, that's going to be a knit stitch. And they're just easier to see because the pattern is more established. So I am going to finish this row, and then I'm going to address the make one increases that you need for the border, and I'm going to address the P2SSO. Lillian, do we have any questions while I'm knitting my knits and purling my pearls?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple. I'll start with Laurie's question. Why do you have to wrap the yarn around the purl stitch? That's the
You're
yarn
not
overs.
wrapping it around the purl stitch. The reason it has that extra wrap is because the yarn overs we did before, we're bringing the yarn from the back to the front, putting it over the right needle, and then the next stitch was a knit stitch, so the yarn was sitting there waiting for the knit stitch. But to purl, we have to have our yarn in front of the work, not behind it. So it has that extra little half turn that it has to take to get in the right place. Otherwise, the yarn is sitting in the back, setting you up for a knit stitch, not a purl stitch.
Okay, and another question about SSKs, which I think you briefly touched on earlier, but the question is, can't you just pass the two slip stitches at the same time instead of one at a time?
No, you cannot, because they don't lay flat. I mean, if you did it and you were internally consistent in your project, I mean, I guess it would be okay, but if you slip them both at the same time, honestly, it makes an infinitesimal difference, and it does not lay as flat. So we always, always, always recommend that you slip them individually. And that's why it's SSK and not SK. I mean, that's why it's abbreviated the way it is. It does make a difference. But if you slipped them both at the same time and you did it that way all the time in your piece, would anybody, you know, there are no knitting police. I don't think anybody would notice, but it is not the correct way to do it, is to slip them both together.
And there's another question here from Cheryl asking, should the marker be placed in the center?
The marker is always right before the central stitch on a right side row. It's right after the central stitch on a wrong side row. So yes, the center is always the marked stitch.
And then there's a question here from Aurora, which I think you'll cover shortly when you move on to the border. But they ask, in reading the pattern, I don't see what creates the scalloped edge in the border pattern. Could you explain?
I will give that my very best shot. I will say, and I'll say it again at the end. See, I dropped a stitch because I wasn't paying attention. So if my math doesn't work out from here on out, y'all, that's why. Trying to do too many things at once. You can always hit me up on Instagram, which is hooked, HOOKED, the number 4, life, LIFE, LLC. So it's hooked for life, LLC. Somebody is always monitoring my Instagram. And if you have a specific question that I don't get to, hit me up on Instagram and I will try and get to it. And also Your Inspirations has customer service. That's very helpful.
Yeah, the ladies are good.
They really are. But I'm going to get to this row, and I want to talk about those 2 increases because they are not familiar to some people. But guys, when I show these 2 increases on the next right side row, they're not going to line up properly because I'm just throwing them in at random. Okay, so the math will not work. Do not panic. I just want to go over those 2 stitches before we run out of time. And then I will try and answer the border question. I'm not ignoring the border question. I just can't look it up right now because my hands are moving. Always an adventure here on live classes. See there, I've got to knit that one, but I can see it coming. So once the pattern is established, it really is far easier to do those wrong side rows without agonizing over whether you are correct when you're knitting and purling. Whoops, made a mess. Let's try this again. Here's a knit. And then I'm always going to begin and end with a knit 3 on right side rows and wrong side rows, because that keeps my border established. All right, so here we are with the second row. And for the person who was asking about, you know, seeing the diamonds, here they go. You see? And then also you can see the pattern on the chart. You can see the diamonds. See them? And so the section we just did, the section I just pointed out is right here. This is the diamond that I was pointing out. So the question, actually, let me address the border question while I'm here looking at the chart. Why does the border scallop? As we talked about earlier, I don't know if you personally were here, these are stitches that do not exist. So the work will actually be a little bit closer together. I suspect that when the piece was blocked, the person that blocked it pinned out the points. So yeah, I can see where you can't see specifically the scallop in the border because it's flat. The picture is flat, you know, the chart is flat. But points like that, if you pick, I'm guessing it's that yarn over. I'm guessing that when the piece was blocked. So look, these stitches would be close together, which would give me a little point right here. These stitches would be close together, which would give me a little point right here. So when I wet blocked this piece, and I wet block lace always because it makes it look so much nicer, I suspect that the pins, you know, that they pinned out the points. And I suspect that the points are right here. So I hope that helps. So I'm going to talk about a make one increase. So let me get, we're running out of time. I always have more to show you than I get to talk about. So again, I'm just going to knit a few stitches so I can get to someplace where I can make a lifted increase. But again, I'm not knitting in pattern now, so don't get mad at me. I'm just knitting to a place where I can show you the increase I want to show you.
While you're knitting, would you mind briefly explaining what wet blocking is?
Wet blocking as opposed to steam blocking. When I wet block, I soak my piece. I soak the entire piece. I put it in a bucket of water. I use a tiny bit of knit appropriate soap, although not woolite. I know everybody says woolite, but it will fade your yarn. Ask me how I know. There are all kinds of soaps available that are more suitable for knitwear. You leave it in water for at least 30 minutes to make sure the fibers open up. You roll it up in a terry towel like a jelly roll and blot it to get as much water out of the knitwear and into the towel as humanly possible, so that you are left with a damp piece of knitting as opposed to a soaking wet one, because a soaking wet water is heavy. And if you try and hang it up or pin it out when it is soaking wet, then you can break strands because it's too heavy. I use, there are blocking boards that you can buy, but honestly, I bought some interlocking rubber mats that are about that thick that I got at, you know, a chain store, and I pin out the piece to the size and shape that I want it to be, and I allow it to dry. And that's wet blocking, as opposed to, you know, hitting it with an iron, hitting it with steam. But wet blocking is a very serious blocking. It takes a little bit of time, but on lace particularly, it enables it to hold its shape. But we're running out of time, so let's take a look at this make one increase. So to make one, I'm reading the instructions from the pattern so I don't say something different than they do. It says make one stitch by picking up a horizontal loop lying before the next stitch and knitting into the back of the loop. So this is what that looks like. Here is the stitch I have just created. here's the next stitch that I would knit, but I want to add an increase. So using my right hand needle tip, I'm going to pick up that horizontal bar. I'm going to put it up on my left hand needle, and I'm going to knit it through the back loop. And the reason I'm knitting it through the back loop is I want the legs to cross. I want the legs of that stitch to cross, because if they don't, it's going to leave a big hole, and I don't want a hole. Let's look at that one more time. I've completed the stitch before the M1 increase. There's the stitch after the M1 increase. So I'm grabbing the horizontal bar. So it's this guy right here. I'm popping it up on the left-hand needle, and I'm knitting it through the back. And I'm knitting it through the back so that the legs of the stitch cross and I don't have a big giant hole. Because when I want a big giant hole, we're doing yarn overs. We don't want holes under our make one increases. So in that case, we took 2 stitches and turned it into 3. So I had a stitch on the right hand needle, I had a stitch on the left hand needle, and I added one using that horizontal bar in between. And let's see. So P2SSO, they're saying pass 2 slipped stitches over. So I'm guessing that we have slipped 1 stitch. I'm doing purlwise out of habit. I'm sure it says in the pattern, but I don't know the answer. I'm slipping the 2nd stitch. Now in this case, could I pass them at the same time? Both at the same time, probably. And then I'm going to knit the next stitch, and I'm going to pass 2 stitches over. So I'm going to take the 2 stitches that I slipped, and I'm going to grab them with my left hand needle. Now, when I pass these over, notice that I have a little bit of tension on my working yarn. I don't have it in death grip, but I want to keep a little tension on there, because if I don't, that stitch is going to pop off, and I don't want that. So I'm going to keep a little bit of tension here and pass those 2 slip stitches over. Let's see if we can do that again. Again, this is not anything other than I'm trying to get to where we're going. So I'm going to slip 2 stitches. I'm going to knit the next one, and I'm going to pass 2 stitches over. So I'm going to grab the 2 stitches that I slipped. I'm going to grab them with my left hand needle. I'm going to keep a little bit of tension on the working yarn, and I'm going to pass those 2 slipped stitches over. So we're pretty much out of time. Lillian, do you have anything I can answer real quick?
Sorry, just managing to unmute myself. Now, there's a couple of questions here that I'm not sure how quick they are, but hopefully you can answer them. Aubrey asks, can you use KFB instead of make one?
KFB, this is a really technical answer, and some of you will hate it, so you can ignore this next part if you don't care that much. When you do a KFB increase, one of the stitches front facing looks like a purl stitch, which is why we use the make one. If you do the make one increase, all the stitches that you have made are front facing as knit stitches. If you do KFB, one front faces as a knit and one is a purl, and it makes a bump. So my opinion would be no, I would not do that. I mostly only use KFB if I'm on the edge or if I'm working in garter stitch. So again, if you were internally consistent, would anybody know but you? Probably not. But it visually, a KFB is very different than an M1.
Okay, and there's one more question. Sorry, I have 2 more questions. One here from Aurora asking, so that is the slip, oh gosh, SL2K, and then a knit 1, and then a Purl 2 SSO.
It's written out in the pattern. So I would say, again, you don't use it until the border. I would just follow along. Again, it's written out the way that Yarn Inspirations wants you to do it. There it is. You know what I mean? So there are a zillion variations of PSSO, pass slip stitch over. But specifically, I hate to just say read the pattern, but read the pattern. It will tell you specifically how your inspirations wants you to do it.
Okay, and final question. One of our attendees today was wondering about sizing this down for dolls. And I know that you've sized down, but only to 65 stitches. Is that right?
Yes. Again, this is a super technical answer. I could conceivably have gone down to 45, but I would not have gone lower than 45 because of the way the stitches are. So the way I decided that 65 would work is they suggested it as 125 stitches, right? And I know that my central repeats are 10 stitch repeats. So I know I have Michigas at the beginning and in the middle at the end, but everything in the middle has to be divisible by 10. So what I did to step it down was I removed stitches mathematically in a multiple of 20, because if I knew if I took out 20 stitches, I took out one repeat on either side. So I cast on 65 for this class, which gave me 2 repeats between the asterisk on either side. I could have gone down to 45, which would have given me 1 repeat on either side, but I would not go any lower than 45. If you wanted to be teeny tiny, go down a few needle sizes and knit it on lace weight is what I would do, or with thread, depending on the size of your doll.
Okay, and then a related question, Aurora asks, so you could make it bigger by adding multiples of 20?
You could make it bigger by adding multiples of 20, but you would have to add the multiples of 20 in the stockinette section.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and the final question tonight, Darlene asks, on the key there is no V. Is that a make one?
Oh, that's interesting. I will have to look. Hold on. The make one is in the border. Yeah, the V has to be the make one. Again, I will let your inspirations know that so they can fix that up. Let me just look at the 11th row, knit 3, yarn over, knit 4, SSK, yarn over, knit 4, make 1, knit 1, make 1. Yes. So that was a good catch. Thank you very much. This V is a make 1. This V is the make 1. And I will let your inspirations know that so that they can update the pattern. Or Lillian will. One of us will.
Between us, hopefully. Yeah, that's a wonderful catch. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, it's 5 past the hour. Kelly, I'm back on my front-facing camera to say goodbye, if you want to switch me back. Thank you so very much for joining me here tonight. Again, hit me on Hooked for Life LLC on Instagram if you need answers to your questions. And Lillian's going to say goodbye on behalf of Your Inspiration. So I'm going to stop talking and I'll see you all at the next class.
Thanks so much, Mary Beth. It's always a joy to have you in for classes.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today, everyone, for this live community classroom with Michaels. Don't forget to share your work with #MakeItWithMichaels and #YourInspirations. And just a reminder that you can find more classes on michaels.com and the recording of today's class at michaels.com/classes. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Mary Beth.
Bye.